right here, 93.7 The Fan, your home for Pittsburgh sports, making breaking news, national news today with the Fan Morning Show earlier in the day, 8 a.m. today, so, over 12 hours ago now, reporting that Aaron Rodgers will be in Pittsburgh, expected to sign with the Steelers this weekend. For all we know, Rodgers is here right now. The morning show said that Rodgers would be here tonight. Ian Rappaport's put it out there. Jerry Dulac of the Post-Gazette as well. Rappaport saying that Rodgers will likely play for the Steelers in 26. The deal's not done. Obviously, still some caution until everything is still signed, or it gets signed. But right now, it seems like Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Steeler for a second consecutive year until we actually see the contract signed or a picture of Aaron Rodgers signing the contract. There's still a little bit of skepticism, but seems like it's going to happen. To discuss that and more, Garrett Podell of CBS Sports, CBSSports.com. Love talking to Garrett. Garrett, good to see you. We actually might have an Aaron Rodgers decision, as hard as that might be to believe, considering the last couple of months, just like it was last year, we had to wait for what seemed like years rather than months.
Great to see you, my friend. Always fun to hang with you guys. I've gotten a little sleep since the draft, so I'm fired up, ready to be here back with you guys. And I'm honestly a little surprised about Aaron Rodgers' decision to resign coming potentially now. I always figured he would end up back in Pittsburgh, but, he's somebody who is not a fan of the voluntary organized team activities portion of the offseason. That was a period that he skipped last year with Pittsburgh, opting not to sign until right before mandatory minicamp, right before the league's summer break last year. He notoriously skipped that at the last 2 or 3 years with the Green Bay Packers. So it looks like he's doing his boy Mike McCarthy a solid potentially by re-signing to be available at the start of the voluntary activities. Perhaps the team acquiring Michael Pittman Jr. To be the number 2 wide receiver alongside DK Metcalf. Rodgers maybe took that as an investment in him as the team's quarterback, given that last year's leading receiver in terms of catches was running back Kenneth Gainwell. And Pittman Jr., he's got, I believe, the 6th most catches in the entire NFL across the last 4 seasons. So maybe a little bit more investment into the offense, a little more investment by Aaron Rodgers showing up a smidge earlier here in the Pittsburgh offseason program.
So you wrote a story today, CBSSports.com. Aaron Rodgers expected to return to the Steelers, where the 4-time MVP will rank on the NFL's all-time oldest QBs, which is a very unique story. I like the title of it. So where does Rodgers rank, and what is the success level of the other quarterbacks that have been right around this age range?
So he'll turn 43 years old in early December. So we statistically will call the 2026 season his age 43 season. And so that will make him, I guess, Tom Brady at 45, that's the oldest quarterback that has ever started a game. Yeah. Then you get to 44, and there's a glut of people at 44. And then at the current moment, Doug Flutie at 42 is third. But when Rodgers, turns 43 in December and he's still starting, he will create his own little category. He'll be the 3rd oldest quarterback to ever start a game in NFL history for Pittsburgh in 2026.
And other names on this list are Phillip Rivers, who I don't think was bad in his 3 games for Indianapolis when he came in.
No, I mean, he wasn't bad, but it was very clear. I mean, he was working with a water pistol of the right arm and not the rocket launcher that he used to have. And I mean, Tom Brady at 45 a few years ago, his last season, he kind of same thing. You could tell the arm strength was fading with him. Although Tom, if you look at him, he probably could have played another year or 2, but he had, family stuff, and he'd probably played a year too long. The team was around 500. It was his time to go. But outside of Tom Brady, pretty much everybody's kind of looked like they were shot. But Aaron Rodgers, like Brady, multiple-time MVP, future Hall of Famer, maybe he looks closer to Brady than Rivers in 2025. Especially, I think, having someone like Pittman is going to make a world of difference, because why was Gainwell the leading receiver? Because that was the intermediate check-down option. Pittman Jr., that's kind of where he lives, in the short intermediate area of the field, middle of the field. Route running is kind of his best selling point versus Metcalf. He's that deep ball, athleticism, explosion kind of receiver. So I think their games really complement each other well. And I think Pittman could do a lot of things well to help extend Aaron Rodgers' shelf life by giving him a safety blanket over the middle to just check the ball off to as the pocket collapses.
Well, it certainly can't be, or at least I would hope not be, the final year of Peyton Manning in Denver as well, where he was basically carried.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest and most poignant example of a dude's right arm falling off during the season. I mean, they did win the Super Bowl, but Von Miller rightly won Super Bowl MVP. That defense was ferocious and carried him to that title.
The other names, Steve DeBerg in 98 was 44. Warren Moon with the Chiefs in 2000 was 44. Vinny Testaverde, 2007 was 44 for the Carolina Panthers. I mean, clearly, Garrett, the track record has shown, unless you're Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback of all time, you're likely not going to have that much success. If you're going, like, if you go to the Super Bowl, that'd be absolutely stunning. I mean, Steve DeBerg, I guess, had a good final year, but, like, what are you going to get out of Aaron Rodgers this year? What do you think they're going to get?
Well, fortunately for Pittsburgh, Rodgers is number one all-time in touchdown-interception ratio. He's number one all-time in passer rating, fourth in passing touchdowns all-time. So he does have that all-time resume that puts him, within the strike zone of potentially getting a Brady-like performance. But I think it'll be something similar, maybe a smidge better than last year's season for Pittsburgh. So last year, he was number 7 in the NFL in touchdown-to-interception ratio. Passer rating, he was 14th. If you like advanced analytics, expected points added per drop back, he was 23rd or 24th. So what the Steelers are getting is someone who's, in terms of their mental processing, one of the best ever to play the game, but based on his physical traits that he currently has available to him at entering his age 43 season, you're probably going to get, someone who at best is like the 14th best quarterback in the NFL to as bad as potentially like early 20s type of quarterback production. So somewhere in that like mid-tier NFL starter level, probably, just given a lot of Rodgers' game was his mobility and not necessarily a run for rushing yards, but to scramble and create new throwing lanes for himself to then pull off magic tricks over and over again from just inside the pocket and outside the pocket. That ability has certainly waned in recent years. That was very much evident in the playoff loss against the Houston Texans. But I think they can get, mid-tier starting quarterback level play out of Aaron Rodgers at 43.
You wrote a story earlier this week, the 10 worst quarterback rooms in the NFL. The Steelers ranked 3rd. And we'll go starting here. Why did you rank them 3rd?
Okay, so to be clear to all of those listening, at the time of publication, Aaron Rodgers, this news had not broke. So I evaluated the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback room based on who was in it and signed on the roster at the time of this writing.
And he still isn't signed. Rodgers still isn't technically signed.
And he still isn't signed, but where it wasn't as clear as he's expected to sign. Yeah. You're absolutely right, Austin. So who are the guys on the roster? You have 2025 6th-round pick Will Howard. You have 2026 3rd-round pick Drew Aller. And veteran Mason Rudolph, who has been a longtime backup for the Steelers, backup for the Titans, is now back with the Steelers. And so to me, that's an uninspiring group, given you have Rudolph, who has shown like his ceiling is fun backup for a start or two, but not a consistent starter that's going to take you anywhere. And then in terms of Howard and Aller, neither one of those guys has taken an NFL regular season snap. So I just thought, based on, an uninspiring veteran in Rudolph and two guys who have never taken a regular season snap, that makes you one of the worst quarterback rooms in football.
Why did you come to the determination that Aller would be your hypothetical week 1 starter? And did it have anything to do with how high I am on for Drew Aller?
To me, I look at the value the team has placed on him. The Pittsburgh Steelers this year, with Mike McCarthy as the head coach, said Aller's a 3rd-round pick. Now, granted, McCarthy, wasn't around when Howard was selected in the 6th round, but a lot of times in the NFL, early on in players' careers, if it's kind of close, the tie goes to the player where there's a higher investment.
Yeah.
And just financially, based on where they were selected, that's Aller. Plus, Aller is one of McCarthy's picks. So, current head coach picked him, third round pick. I just figured, he's probably got a higher ceiling than Howard, and him versus Rudolph. Perhaps Aller's physical tools are maybe better than Rudolph's at this stage of his career. He's been in the league for a while.
I'm just surprised that you ranked that quarterback room worse than the Arizona Cardinals.
Well, here's the thing about it. Jacoby Brissett, even though they only won one of his 10 or 11 starts, he was at least somewhat productive. Now, as I note in the article, numbers are mostly garbage time. Yeah. But from this time in which he became the Cardinals starting quarterback, and I think it's week 8 or 9 to the end of the season, he was number 2 in the NFL in passing yards. So, he was able to allow Trey McBride, their tight end, to still be the first team All-Pro tight end, even though the Arizona Cardinals team was not very good. Why is that? I mean, he was at least able to distribute the football. So I think that's somebody who, say what you will, the team was bad, but he was at least able to stuff the stat sheet week in and week out. And I don't know if Rudolph or Aller is, going to lead the second half of an NFL season or be the number 2 passing yards leader for the second half of the season. So I gave the edge to the Cardinals because I would probably take Brissett at this moment today without having seen Aller or Howard throw in an NFL game over Rudolph or anyone else.
Even with the injury for Brissett.
I mean, his injury, I think it's something, injury. For those who are listening on audio, I'm throwing air quotes around. He asked for a new contract. He's entering the last year of his contract, and he wants to be compensated like an NFL starting quarterback. So I think his lack of participation in the offseason program because of the, quotes, injury. Is financially motivated. So, no, I'm not concerned about his physical well-being at this time.
Garrett Podell, CBS Sports, CBSSports.com with us on the Fan Hotline presented by Sullivan Super Service, providing trusted plumbing and HVAC service for over 50 years. Where would you rank the Steelers quarterback room with Aaron Rodgers not officially signing, but trending in the direction of signing? Where does it rank?
Okay, so basically if we're assuming Aaron Rodgers is on this Steelers roster, which we are in this exercise, I would move them up to probably...
Are they better than Minnesota?
I'm debating putting them at like 9 or 10, and depending on how healthy we think Daniel Jones is going to be with that Achilles tear.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I'd put him as being better than the Colts, so I guess I'd put him at 10. Just because Rodgers, at his age, if he takes one wrong hit one time, that could knock him out for a significant amount of time. He had the wrist injury that he only missed a game for. I think the timing of that, I'd have to check this, lined up well with their bye week or whatever, that he only missed one game. But you have Rodgers at 43, and then behind him, everything we just discussed. That's still not an awesome situation to be in if you're Pittsburgh.
So you would have them better than J.J. McCarthy and whatever's left of Kyler Murray. I
would. I mean, J.J. McCarthy was last in the NFL in completion percentage, in touchdown interception ratio, and pass rating last year. And Kyler, we just talked about Rodgers' potential durability. Kyler hasn't played more than 5 or 6 games in a season in 4 years. I mean, this is somebody who has had significant injury issues. So at this point, even though Kyler Murray's offensive ecosystem is way better than what's in Pittsburgh. I mean, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Pro Bowl tight end TJ Hawkinson, Pro Bowl running back Aaron Jones, Kevin O'Connell, who was the 2024 Coach of the Year calling the plays. That's a great system for Murray to be in. But we're talking about pure quarterback talent here, and I don't know that I would take Kyler Murray. If you're just trying to be good and win this year, which the Steelers' mantra clearly is, we've got TJ Watt, he's getting older, the defense is still productive, we want to win now. I mean, they hired Mike McCarthy. That signals you want to win now. Mike McCarthy is not somebody you bring in if you're rebuilding. So I would take Rodgers just for this year probably over Kyler Murray or J.J. McCarthy. Now, if Kyler Murray shows he can be healthy, then maybe that changes my answer. But up to this point, he's not.
For Howard now and for this quarterback at the time that they were drafted, who do you think is the better prospect, Will Howard or Kenny Pickett?
That's an interesting question. Both of those guys played like 5, in Howard's case, maybe because of COVID, 6 years of college football. So they're both older prospects. That's tough, just because the biggest knock on Pickett was the arm strength wasn't awesome.
Yeah.
With Will Howard, to me, the biggest knock on him is he's not as polished in terms of like throwing mechanics and accuracy. So those are like two different problems. So that comes down to like, what do you think is a bigger knock? I think you'd have to say, I guess, Pickett, just because mechanic was the better prospect of the two, just because mechanically he's much more sound, much more accurate. He just didn't scare anybody going down the field. But I think the floor is a lot higher if you're going Kenny Pickett over Will Howard. You can maybe talk yourself into the ceiling, maybe higher with Howard, but a lot more work needs to go in for him to get to that point.
Well, one constant thing that's brought up, Garrett, about Will Howard is that he won a national championship. And a lot of people like to use that feather in his cap of what he did in college when comparing it to...
who he was throwing to, Carnell Tate was just the 4th overall pick in the draft. Jeremiah Smith, everyone assumes, and I would agree, is better than Carnell Tate.
Yep.
I mean, Austin,
I agree with you. You
could distribute the football to the first round talent at wide receiver that Ohio State has year in and year out.
Yeah, like that's one thing that, Joe and I have listed off Cardell Jones and Stetson Bennett twice and Tim Tebow and Josh Heupel and all kind of other guys that have won a national championship that it just hasn't worked in the NFL. So one thing that I've been just trying to ask everybody, do you think that success in college truly does translate to NFL success? I look at Patrick Mahomes. He was 5 games under 500 in college. What did Josh Allen win in at Wyoming?
What I want to say, the Mahomes example is incredibly interesting because I would say statistically he was successful. Like if you watched him play, I mean, he would lose games, 40 to 50 something.
Yeah.
He was successful in college. Cliff Kingsbury didn't spend a lick of effort recruiting defensive players when he was in college. I mean, he lost a game to Baker Mayfield and the Sooners when he accounted for, like 600 yards or 700 yards of total offense. So I would kind of remove Mahomes from that. But Josh Allen is a great point. I mean, his completion percentage, he couldn't hit the side of a barn in college, and he's an NFL MVP.
Yeah, or like Ben Roethlisberger at Miami of Ohio. You're kind of, the point is like you're drafting for traits and upside rather than what you do in college. If it was what you did in college, K-Tron...
I mean, what you do in college matters to a degree.
Yeah, to a degree.
Say. But yeah, to your point, like it's all projection. Like you see Mahomes, losing games. Like Patrick Mahomes and I were in college at the same time. I went to TCU. I saw Mahomes up close in college. He lost to TCU 2 out of 3 times. At no point did I look at, Trayvon Boykin, who was an NFL backup before legal issues occurred, and say like, I think he's a better NFL prospect than Patrick Mahomes, but I thought Trayvon Boykin maybe could have started in the NFL if he didn't have legal issues. So even though his team wasn't winning games, I think it just comes down to, you got to judge what is his environment that he's in, like what is his college situation, and then, like you said, projection. Do we have the confidence in our program, our coaching staff, to squeeze the best version of this prospect out of himself?
A few more minutes.
That's really what it comes down to.
A few more minutes with Garrett Podell of CBS Sports. Did you walk out of the stadium or watching it on TV when TCU would play Texas Tech and think, man, this Mahomes guy is going to turn into one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen in the NFL?
I mean, I thought he was a first-round pick caliber quarterback because he was making throws like you see in the NFL where his hips and his body are turned one way and the ball's going another way, and it's a dime in the basket. I mean, when TCU during those years, they had Gary Patterson as their head coach. I don't know nationally how familiar you are with him, but he kind of revolutionized a modern defense in college to defend against the up-tempo, spread pass-happy offenses that he would face. And it was the 4-2-5. That was kind of his innovation, and TCU had top 10 defense after top 10 defense under Gary Patterson. Patrick Mahomes lit up Gary Patterson's defense. TCU would win these games, but he did not have any issues with all the different junk formations and disguise coverages and everything that Patterson was throwing at him. So I walked out of the stadium thinking, I think Mahomes could be a a nice starter in the NFL. I did not think he was going to make a GOAT push and win 3 Super Bowls before he turned 30. But I walked away from those games thinking, that's an NFL quarterback.
Yeah, because I think like the point of the matter is like talking about guys that win national championships. There are more Stetson Bennett's out there. Like for every Fernando Mendoza or every Joe Burrow that's out there, there are like 4 Stetson Bennett's who win a national championship and just don't work in the NFL the landscape for whatever reason that is. Maybe it is because Will Howard was thrown to the best talent out there and had 2 second-round running backs and a great coach as well.
And that talent gap is evaporated in the NFL because everyone who's playing in the NFL was the best at college. So the talent gap when you face an opponent in the NFL is, for the most part, nearly equivalent. There might be some edges at certain positions, but a lot of the time it's very, very close.
So what is it then?
Yeah,
traits?
Mm-hmm.
Is it all traits, just upside based when you're just trying to evaluate if you're like a coach what you want in a like a quarterback? Or I mean, we really could take it from any type of player.
I mean, I think production matters, but I think it goes back to ecosystem. Like what's his situation? Like the reason I'm so down on JJ McCarthy in my worst quarterback rooms is I watched McCarthy have the opportunity to throw to Justin Jefferson, the 2022 Offensive Player of the Year in the NFL, the 2024 Coach of the Year dialing up his plays, first-round talent at the other wide receiver spot, Pro Bowlers at tight end and running back, and be last in the NFL in all those passing metrics. Like that to me is mind-blowing. I mean, there are not many places in the NFL where the offensive ecosystem and the weapons and coaching around you is better than what's in Minnesota. I mean, they brought Sam Darnold's career back from the dead, and then he won a Super Bowl a year later. Kevin O'Connell deserves plenty of credit, I think, for rehabbing Sam Darnold. And he rehabbed Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones was a backup on the 2024 team that Darnold started on, and then he was awesome for the Colts and in the MVP conversation before he started getting little injuries that ended with an Achilles tear. So I think when I see someone like that fail in a Minnesota Vikings situation, I'm out on him.
Yeah.
But, in the case of like Josh Allen, you could see the arm talent was crazy in college. He didn't know what to do with it, and his supporting cast wasn't great. But you could see there was something there. And, Brandon Beane, the GM of the Bills, had said, when I picked him that if he hit, it'd be awesome. But if he missed, because there was such a wide variance with someone whose completion percentage was in the 50s and low 60s in college, I'm going to be out of a job.
Right.
I think that's when you're picking a first-round quarterback for a lot of general managers, unless there's, equity, years of success, whatever, they're putting their job on the line. Because it's basically saying, I picked this guy in the first round. Like, that's who I think is the future of this franchise for the foreseeable future.
2 quick ones. Brendan Sorsby is now at Texas Tech. He's going through a lot of different things regarding gambling. You're in Texas. Like, what is the discussion right now with Texas Tech and with Sorsby that maybe people that aren't around the area might be a little bit detached from?
I mean, if you talk to Texas Tech fans that I know, I mean, they're distraught. And their question is, how did Texas Tech not know that this was something he was dealing with before they, hooked him up with whatever NIL deal they hooked him up with? Because, I mean, I understand why they recruited him. Sorsby was the first team All Big 12 quarterback last year at Cincinnati. He had a really good year. Had a couple tough games down the stretch. TCU actually had the opportunity to beat him up in the season when they won by double digits. But other than that game, he was pretty consistently solid all throughout the year, which is why he was the first team all-conference quarterback. But, I certainly think seeing a situation like Sorsby in the grand scheme of things, you step back and think, like, is legalized gambling and the sort of no-holds-bar, unrestricted free will we give the gambling companies, is that good for our society? Is it
Great
good?
Question.
I don't know. I mean, when we watch a program, they say this is brought to you by DraftKings or FanDuel or whatever, or you watch an NBA playoff game, for example, how often you're inundated with it. Like,
they're doing live parlays
on young men in society.
Right, live parlays right on the side of the broadcast. Like, build your parlay in the pregame show.
And look, and it's a segment in, like, Charles Barkley, to use the NBA playoff example, gives his like parlay as part of the pregame show. I mean, you can't get away from it. So I certainly think when you see something like that, it definitely gives you pause about, maybe there needs to be some legislation to kind of tamper it down or whatever. But I don't think this is an issue that's going to go away until we as a society choose to address it. But I understand it's a very profitable industry, and a lot of sports fans love connecting to the game through gambling. It makes them feel like I have a reason to pay attention if my favorite team isn't on the screen. But I think this isn't going to be the last athlete you see deal with this, especially a college athlete who,
right,
their mind is still forming and figuring things out.
Is there rumblings down there that he could go in the supplemental draft, and could your number one quarterback needy team, the Cleveland Browns, take him?
That would be great theater. I would have to look up, honestly, his eligibility with the supplemental draft, given whatever the NCAA decides to rule on his case. I mean, it's not looking good because news has leaked out that he allegedly, when he was at Indiana before transferring to Cincinnati, bet on Indiana games to win, just like Pete Rose did with the Cincinnati Reds back, but while he was in uniform with Indiana, which that, if he had bet on like other games, but on his own team's game, I could see him maybe getting a chance to play. But when you bet on your own team, I don't think there's a way of getting out of that one at the college level. That would be really interesting for sure. Now, they're the most crowded quarterback in the NFL, and they're the most chaotic, which is why I had them as the worst quarterback room in football, because you got Deshaun Watson, who since they traded for him 3 first-round picks, gave him $230 million guaranteed. I think he's only played 19 games, season-ending shoulder injury, Achilles tear, tore his Achilles while rehabbing from his Achilles tear, which is why he didn't play at all in 2025. Now he's finally going to be ready to play as he enters the last year of his contract, but that's been a total disaster, not to even get into the negative PR he's given the team with his legal issues off the field. And then you have Shedeur Sanders, who statistically had some struggles when he entered the NFL. He was one of the lowest blitzed quarterbacks in the NFL last year, but he had the highest quarterback pressure rate against. What does that mean? He's still struggling with the weakness he had at Colorado. He holds onto the ball too long, trying to make a big play, and doesn't just get the ball out or throw it away, live to play another down. And then after that, you have Dylan Gabriel, who longtime college player, kind of smaller guy, limited upside. And Taylor Green, who his combine metrics were similar to DK Metcalf on the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's 6'6", just like a gazelle of an athlete. Many people are like, why shouldn't he play receiver? He wants to play quarterback. GM Andrew Berry said, we're going to keep him at quarterback. So you've got all different ranges of development. Watson with his issues. There's no weirder or worse quarterback room than the Cleveland Browns in 2026.
Garrett, fun as always. We'll do it again soon. Good talking to you, my friend.
Absolutely. Great catching up with you, Austin.
Garrett Podell, CBS Sports. They're on the Fan Hotline, presented by Sullivan Super Service. Listen to the Pomp and Joe Show every Wednesday to hear about Starkey's Card of the Week from the Baseball Card Castle in Cranberry. Contest run every Wednesday through Friday at noon on the 93.7thefan.com contesting page. Yesterday we had the General on, and he showed us the Card of the Week on video. We like to have the General on video join us at times. The General has a Bowman Chrome Seth Hernandez card, so you still have a chance to be able to win that today and into tomorrow. So check it out. He also touched on a lot of other things that are going on with us, with Seth Hernandez being the third most popular Pirate card right now. So very interesting. Seth Hernandez, who just continues to dominate. He needs to be promoted to Greensboro. Fan weather is brought to you by Secure Money Advisors. Looking to retire soon? Let Secure Money Advisors get your retirement on track. Temperatures are around 60 tomorrow with rain Friday night into Saturday as well. 412-928-9370. Want to hear your thoughts on the Steelers? Want to hear your thoughts on the Buccos? Can also dive into Penguins. Open lines for you. Want to talk to you about the state of the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers right now. Looking like he could be coming back. We'll also touch on Paul Skeens and a little bit more on Don Kelly managing game 162 today. Joel's pick in an hour as well. But first, Joel has a headline. Austin Bechtold will be on the Fan.